I think we're looking much more at how do we empower kids and how do we look at self-learning as one of the ways of, how can we sort of instill that kind of learning in our kids. Digital, as I see it, is now become a lot more integral than it was.
Today we have with us Ms. Rama Iyer, Director General and Board Member at the WPP India Foundation. Ms. Rama is a true product of WPP. Having started out as a management trainee at Ogilvy India, she returned years later to set up the WPP Foundation. Since the last 3 years of Rama being at the helm of the foundation, there have been key successes globally that have been recognized for the foundation at industry and government forums like the International CSR Excellence Awards, Asia's Excellence Award, and the Golden Peacock Awards. Individually, Rama has also won several CSR awards, such as the Women CSR Leader of the Year Award at ET Now and the CSR Leader Award at a regional forum of Asia's Excellence Awards. Rama looks to share all her learnings with upcoming generations of social entrepreneurs, actively mentoring them in their CSR strategies at an individual level and as an advisory panel member. It's lovely to have you join us today, Rama.
Thank you so much for having me, Yamin.
Just to begin with, we would like to understand a little bit about your professional journey and how you got started with the WPP Foundation.
Well, actually, a lot of it is in the introduction itself. I think my journey with WPP started first job. I then um was heading a lot of planning on Unilever and something on my own. And I've always been interested in the sector. So, frankly, after my EMIs were paid and I could afford to set up my own company, I decided to for. Also, I think my daughter, when a lot, it's a huge moment of reflection in your life. So it was also time for me to sort of step back, and I think I'd sold enough jams and ketchups and detergents. So I wanted to sort of spend my time using that expertise more towards issues that I was really sort of wanted to address. That was also the time that WPP was setting. So yes, they did call me back, and so here I am, and I've been here now for more than about 3.5 years.
That's wonderful. Tell us a little bit about what the vision behind the foundation and why specifically the foundation decided to focus on, thematic areas of education and skill development.
Yeah, so I think this is something we asked ourselves also, saying that education is one of the most crowded areas, and so for a couple of reasons. I think as a group, we understand market change. There's a lot of expertise that we have in terms of shifting or understanding attitudes towards different issues, whether commercial or so. And I think we understand what it takes to work with the same set of consumers over a long period of time to bring about, incremental or large-scale social impact. So I think one of the things that we wanted to do was to intervene in a space of maximum impact. Education is a game changer, which I think we all understand and realize. Two things I think that we also realized was that education on its own is not an end goal, which is why our vision is lead the youth not only from educational outcomes, but to also inform livelihood choices. I mean, we realize that education, however, means to a goal, and the ultimate goal of financial freedom, or at least the ability to be financially free if you want, if you choose to be. I think with our kids towards. The other thing that I think as a group we have is we have very deep relationships with our clients, and we wanted to look at initiatives that we could sort of partner and build with them. I think the model is built on partnerships from the onset itself, and we want a larger platform which most of our corporates could identify with, our employees could identify with, and so that we can all sort of work. I think we realize, however large we are, we're very small compared to the issue at hand. So unless we work in a much larger consortium, unless we work with a lot of the larger partners, we will not be able to get the sort of impact that we want.
Right. I think that's wonderful what you highlighted, the entire journey right from education to a livelihood, because that is something we really see missing with the education programs that, the hand holding sort of stops at 18. and then out into the
Yeah,
world.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So that's wonderful to hear. Now I want to talk a little bit more about your programs and the unique models that you have, piloted. Tell us about
Yeah.
these models and what impact that they have had.
So first on the model, like I mentioned, so we are, globally largest company. Even in India, we are the largest. So I think it's fair to say that our ambition is to sort of look at not only impact in India, but we would like to look at impact across all emerging markets. So I think the model that we look. Okay, so I think so one of the journalists had actually said this about our model. So I'm going to sort of shamelessly borrow from what he said, where he said it's an inch wide and mile deep. I think from the onset, we realized that since we're one of the largest companies, globally and in India, and we have access to most of our clients in terms of partners. So our model is really built on saying that the work that we look at in the foundation is to really deliver proof of concept. And as and when we have modules which deliver proof of concept, we start scaling it with our partners or with the government. Okay. So just to give an example, in our digital work, for instance, we've already partnered with Niti Aayog to scale up a lot of the work that we're doing in terms of, with our makerspace. In terms of impact, we are looking at actually building a tool with IIT to look at how we can address the issue of impact assessment in English reading. So that's something that we're piloting even now. The minute we have proof of concept, we're going to sort of look at partners that we can scale with. So I think our model is based on looking at what is it that the foundation can test to make sure that we have a POC which delivers social impact. So we've started with saying what is the change that we want to see at the end of 7 years. And we keep varying our inputs to see how quickly and efficiently can we get there. So as of today, we're piloting about 23 different interventions that our kids go through. And as and when we have pilots which deliver POC, we quick look at ways to sort of scale it up. So in terms of, our forward linkages, where we're looking at our kids becoming skill ready. We've already started partnering with corporates to see how we can sort of set up joint livelihood centers. And more importantly, so our students get trained by them and then get picked up by them for the jobs. Because I think our biggest challenge has always been in terms of how do you make sure the kids get the jobs that they want.
Right.
So I think that's pretty much the way we're working. We're also looking at a sustainable model. And when I say that, some of our kids who've been trained in our livelihood centers have come back as our teachers. And for us, that's a complete circle where there's a child who's, been through our entire model, has been through our livelihood school and has now come back to our school as a teacher. And we increasingly want to see that as well, because I think we want to look at an exit strategy. We don't want our beneficiaries to be dependent on us. We want to build ecosystems where two things. One is obviously the program has to be interesting enough for the community to want to pick it up. And then I think we would like to be enablers to create a society or an ecosystem where they will be self-sufficient. And I think that's what we're looking at.
I think that's a wonderful model, especially highlighting sustainability. It's really a challenge that we face.
Yeah.
Zeroing in on your skill development programs, can you tell us a little bit about what topic areas these programs cover and what is the impact that you've had so far with your cohort?
So frankly, Yamini, I think this is the toughest part of our entire module. If I look at it in terms of, I think in the entire program, the entire 23 program intervention mix that we look at, this is probably the piece that I think we struggle with the most. And I still think we haven't got to a stage where we can sort of sit back and say that we're happy with the way things are. I think we've moved ahead compared to where we are, but we're still not there. And I think the reason for that is twofold. We through our programs, like our kids, they learn, in terms of digital literacy, we want to make sure our kids are sort of 21st century ready. So they learn coding, they learn 3D design, they learn robotics, they learn music with Shamak Dabur, they learn dance with Shamak Dabur, they learn music with Patadu. So, there's a lot of input that goes into our kids. And I think one of the things that we find is that aspirationally, their dreams are so large. And then at the end of the day, if you look at it, if we sort of link them to the sort of jobs that they would have got earlier, then there's a huge gap in what we sort of set them up for and what we really end up closing for them. So I think one of the biggest challenges that we have is to find the kind of jobs that our kids want in the geographical areas that they're in, because another thing that we don't want to do is we don't want to force them to sort of move out of areas that they're in. Um, so that's a piece that we're working on. What we're looking at doing is having strategic tie-ups with a couple of corporates and sort of industries that we find most of our children are interested in. We also don't want to define what sort of jobs they get. We would rather just enable them to get the jobs that they want. So we do a horizontal training where we just train them to be skill ready. And then we partner corporates who sort of train them on the job itself for the first couple of months. And then, that's part of the vertical training. So we don't do vertical training only because it would mean too many different partnerships. And we want to make sure that each child has the exposure to different kind of jobs, but at the end of it makes a choice themselves in terms of what career they want to take, as opposed to saying that we have 5 kind of partnerships and all of them are forced into those kind of jobs. So where we are now is we constantly trying to beef up our job readiness. We started with in the 11th and 12th, we brought it down now. We do that from the 8th grade onwards. So right down from career counseling, aptitude testing, to just exposure to different kinds of jobs. We're looking at internships. Is that one of the things that we can do so that we bridge this gap between theoretical knowledge and the actual practicality of working? And we also want to see if we can start intensifying or sort of deepen the initiatives that we do earlier on. As well as broaden the partnerships. So at both ends. So we're trying to sort of make them job ready from the beginning, expose them to more options. And at the same time, we want to broaden the kind of jobs that they can get and the partnerships that we are sort of providing for them.
Right. I think on the subject of challenges, no conversation now is complete without mentioning at least. So just want to understand, in light of the pandemic, how have you been able to pivot your operations and your larger vision? Because, a lot has changed. We are no longer working on your plan, We don't even know what it's looking like. How has the foundation been able to pivot at this time of challenge and continue delivering on its promise of education and skill development?
So I think it's been equally tough for all of us. And I'm not going to pretend that it was easy for us. It was equally tough. Some of the things that I think that I'm quite happy about is because we've been built as a model where we're constantly testing and sort of evaluating. I think we're very comfortable with fluidity. I think we're very agile. I think we're very comfortable with coming back to the drawing board, reinventing, going back. So I think as a group, and also our partners, they've been amazing from the beginning. I think because we've always tested different things, we're quite comfortable with things that don't work. I think we're okay with failure. Be okay to come back and say it's not working, and now let's see what's working. So we sort of very quickly, and we've always wanted to say that, how can we make our kids digitally sort of equipped? In some ways, I think, what I'm looking at the brighter side of it is it forced us to do something that we kept wanting to do. We always wanted our kids to be digitally literate. This forced us to just do it. It was something we talked about. We just had to do it. Sometimes, you sort of do things because you have to, and because there's no, there's no other way out. So normally, we've in schools, our attendance is anywhere close to about 93 to 94% in the schools that we work in. We've managed to sort of reach out and have access to about 70% of our kids. We managed to sort of get them online. We managed to get about 67% of our programs online. And I think some of the things that we did was we sort of pivoted very quickly and managed to move most of our content online. We also did a very intensive teacher training program, and then the teachers had cohorts where they started having WhatsApp groups with their students. We reached out to so we tested different things. We tested reaching out to the kids directly. We tested modules where we worked with the teachers. The teachers then had small cohorts with their kids in smaller WhatsApp groups. So I think a couple of things that we, that I think we sort of understand now going forward is I think the education system is so driven or sort of focused around what is it that we tell the kids and what is it that they take in. I think we're looking much more at how do we empower kids and how do we look at self-learning as one of the ways, or how can we sort of instill that kind of learning in our kids, where we just enable them and empower them to sort of be self-learners. That's one. I think the second big thing is, of course, the whole digital focus, which I know everybody's talking about post-COVID, but for us it was real. And we've literally now started looking at our content, saying that, how does it work both in terms of if we move into a hybrid model for a while, and even if we move offline, how do we sort of look at it in terms of digital means something completely different to us now. It's not just in terms of teaching them digital literacy, but how do we look at digital as a key part of the implementation of our entire impact assessment, and just in terms of even scale. So I think it just means a lot more to us, and a lots of stuff that we're testing over there. The other thing I think that we're looking at is we always work on soft skills with kids, in terms of their goals, their self-esteem, gender, a lot of those issues. I think one of the things that we realize is, just resilience, to be able to adapt. I think those are some of the skill sets that we're now looking at. I think it's going to become a huge part of the way, our kids engage with society. And I think lastly, job readiness. A lot of the jobs that we were training our kids for may or may not exist, in future. And I think that's one of the things that we're sort of interrogating, to see that how do we really get them job ready for the kind of jobs which seem to be available right now, or which seem to be there right now. Again, I think we have to be open to the fact that the same jobs may not be there 5 years from now. But what we can do is, how do we get that sense of responsiveness, that sense of confidence? How do we get our kids to be agile? How do we just get them to be comfortable with this sort of completely fluid situation that we're living in? I think those are some of the skill sets which we're sort of interrogating and seeing how we sort of need to make sure our kids are ready for all of that.
I think you highlighted a very important point, which is the fact that we don't know how the landscape is going to evolve and change. Most important is the skills, the skill to adapt, to be resilient in the face of change, and the team. So those skills obviously become more important. And this year we've seen so much change when it comes to education. First, with everything going digital, and then with the NEP coming out just a few months ago. It's been quite a ride. So it's on the subject of the NEP. Just wanted to understand, what are your thoughts on this new policy, which has now brought both technological and vocational integration into the mainstream curriculum? So at the foundation, how are you now, envisioning implementing the NEP, or incorporating that within your current systems?
For us, it was a dream come true. When we read the NEP, we said, "Oh my God, this is like our vision." So for us, it really didn't need any reorienting, because we look at an entire holistic way of working with our kids, which is what the NEP is sort of reinforcing. Digital is a huge part of everything we do, again, which is what NEP is reinforcing. Job readiness, or being skill trained, is again what is what the NEP reinforces. So when we in fact read that, for us, this was like, oh my God, our visions actually just got broad-based. So it was wonderful for us. In fact, when we read that, it just seemed to reflect everything that we're already doing. And we, in fact, really thrilled that there are going to be so many other sort of partners doing the same thing. And hopefully we can all just move towards a much larger, similar impact. Because I think the main thing is also to make sure that, all of us are moving in the same direction. I think one of the biggest challenges in the sector is that we tend to work in silos. And if we could have a much larger vision, which is sort of, brought forward by the government, then I think it just makes it so much easier for all of us as partners to sort of work towards it. And I think the kids will benefit at the end. Because, whether you're studying in, and because education is so driven by the state, so irrespective of whichever state you are studying in, if we can just make sure that a child has a holistic education wherever they are in the country, I think the ultimate, winners in this will be the kids. So it will probably be a little more difficult for, I think for all the sort of points, or the touch points around education. So I think the teachers will need to retrain themselves. I think as all of us who are working in that sector, we will need to retrain ourselves. But I think the biggest winners in this will be the kids. And so for that, it's worth it.
You're absolutely right. That's what the policy is, the holistic.
Yeah.
It's been a long time coming. We've waited for these changes.
Yes. Yeah.
We catalyze them, but now this policy, formalizes it.
Yeah.
So, we've spoken about all the great work that WPP is already doing and has done in the past. So looking to the future, what is an area that you would specifically like to focus on and drive the foundation in that direction?
Um, So I think for us, it will continue to be impact. We are very impact focused. There are two big things that I think the foundation is focused on. Like I mentioned, because our model is based on showing or on delivering proof of concept, and so that we can sort of partner with like-minded people and with complementary skills. So for us, it will continue to be impact. I think we will look to find uh, more sort of scalable, more sharper, more hard hitting ways to measure impact itself. That's one. And I think we've already started working on our partnerships. A huge part of, I think, going forward will be in terms of striking those partnerships. At this stage, because I think we have a lot of our programs where we're beginning to see POC.
Right.
So it will really be those two. And digital, as I see it, is now become a lot more integral than it was. So yes, even in impact assessment, like I said, we just partnered with IIT. I think that's just one of the first partnerships. But we will also look at how digital gets embedded into this entire sort of journey, and not just as digital literacy, which is what we had started looking. In the beginning, we just looked at it as digital literacy. I think for now, digital is a way of doing things. So it's going to be a part of everything that we do.
That's wonderful. I think with this, we like to end our interview today. Thank you so much for taking time out and spending time telling me about the foundation. It's been great to see the focus with which you're running the foundation and how you've been able to adapt to this time of change. And we're definitely looking forward to see what the foundation has in store for the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yamini. Lovely speaking with you.